On the city lines sits an old rotting grocery store. It's been there as long as I can remember, which is at least 16 years. Honestly, I'm not sure if it's ever really been in business. Everyone I've ever spoken to has never shopped there. Hell, I'm pretty sure no one has even ever stepped foot in the place. Right now, I'm enrolled in a research class in my high school. The class was structured to where you did three projects: one group project, one research paper about a specific topic given by the teacher, and then the final research paper about any topic of your choosing. My last two projects were okay, I made A's on them, but this final is the real reason I took the class. I needed to learn about this old grocery store. I don't know why I had this obsession with it. I live on the other side of town. I have no ties to the store. But something about it is so alluring. It pulls me in like worms on a hook pulling fish. I haven't gotten a good chance to go by the place. There's old police tape all around the parking lot, and the doors are boarded up with 2x4s. There isn't much news about the place, and I've had to do almost all my research at the local library. The librarian, Mrs. Collins, is sweet and lets me use the archives free of charge. I'm grateful for that. She seems to be very interested in my research project. I think she's like me. The old place pulls her in as well, but I don't think it's got its talons in her like it does me. I'd pile up in a small corner of the second floor, pulling 5 or so books off the shelves at a time. Occasionally, Mrs. Collins would check in on me, and now and then she'd bring me some snacks or a bottle of water. I have to admit, we've grown quite close. "Clara, dear, it's late," her soft voice spoke, snapping me out of my trance. "Okay, I'm busy." I brushed her off. "It's 7:30 and I need to head home soon." "You've been here for hours," she explained, walking over to me and picking up a few books I had discarded. This was a common conversation we had. I'd get absorbed in my research and she'd be there to kick me out. I did appreciate her. It was the only reason that I would go home most days. There were only 2 times I found it mentioned in newspapers, its opening and closing dates. It opened on Monday, July 22nd, 1996. Then the place closed in December of that same year. I couldn't find an exact date of closing, but the headlines were published on Monday, December 16th, 1996. It was run by some old married couple, the Smiths. I have an interview set up with this guy, Samuel Withers, who was close with the Smiths. Mr. Withers is that crazy old man character, lives at the end of the street in a decaying house, yells at kids to get off his lawn. You get the picture. Since there was so little information, actually there was no information about the Smiths, I was hoping he could give me some insight. But before then, I needed to check the place out. I figured that seeing it in person could teach me a lot about it. So that brings me to tonight. About 3 hours ago, I was standing in the parking lot dressed in all black and hidden in the dark of the night. I had a flashlight, my phone, a camera, a hammer, and a gas mask. I had thought this all through. Take as many pictures as I could and document everything. Don't touch anything, don't breathe in anything, etc. This place had been abandoned for nearly a year. No telling how toxic the air was, hence the gas mask. I parked my car across the street. Nobody was out here, and the police weren't patrolling the area. Nobody ever came this way anyways. Gripping the hammer tightly, I stalked over to the door and evaluated the planks of wood. It looked like the wood boarding up the doors was rotting. I pushed on my gas mask, not wanting to die today, and started swinging. The wood broke with ease, splinters flying everywhere. A few nails fell to the ground, and eventually the whole thing caved in on itself. Stepping inside and shining my light, the smell of rot hit me in the face. Holy shit, I mumbled, taking a small step back and reaching to cover my nose. God, it smelled so bad, like an old tuna fish sandwich that had been left in a wet sock that was found 2 days later in the woods with animal shit on it. I moved forward, stepping over the splintered wood and avoiding the nails. The first thing I noticed was the registers, coated in a thick layer of dust. I stepped over broken pieces of wood to get a better look and began to take pictures. It looked like everyone had been shopping normally and then just suddenly disappeared. There was food still on the conveyor belts, a few cans of food here and there, and what I assumed was meat and fruit sat on most others. 2 of the registers were open, money was still inside the drawers. There were receipts on the ground around the registers, like the cashier had been handing them to the customer. Everything. There were bugs and rats everywhere. Every time I watched a roach crawl across the floor, I shuddered. Any noise a rat made had me jumping and looking over my shoulder. The place screamed, "I'm haunted!" I looked up and down the vast aisles, taking pictures of everything. Cans of food that had fallen off the shelves and broken open coated the floor, the random and unknown liquids that pooled around the freezers. The place didn't look looted, just a husk of what used to be a busy supermarket. I ended up in a snack aisle. The vast row of unopened chip bags and Jiffy Pop pans were most likely the only thing the rodents and bugs couldn't get into. As I reached the end of the aisle, an even worse smell hit my nose. I was standing at the back of the store where all the meat was kept. Oh, God, it smelled so bad. It looked even worse. Roaches, flies, rats, and maggots were everywhere, much worse than anywhere else in the store. Snapping a few more pictures, I had to turn away from multiple unidentified pieces just because of how nasty they were. I was shocked there was anything still left, and a part of me really wished it had all already decayed. I thought briefly for a moment, shouldn't it already be gone? It's been months since this place closed. But I didn't dwell too much on the thought. I honestly just wanted to get away from the smell. As I turned to walk along the back of the store, I noticed 2 large swinging doors. I know it was stupid to go back there, but I needed to see. I just had to know what was back there. As I swung open the large metal doors, I shined my light across the room and instantly wished I hadn't. Sitting along the back wall was a person. I didn't get a good look at them. The moment their head snapped around to look at me, I booked it out of there. I dropped my hammer, letting out a blood-curdling scream and spinning on my heels. Racing back through the store, I could hear heavy footsteps following. They were yelling, a deep and raspy voice screaming at me to get back here. It sounded like they hadn't spoken in months. The voice was so hoarse and scratchy. I shot out the front door, nearly breaking my stride as I pushed past the rotted wood and across the parking lot. As I made it to my car, I glanced back to see the shadow of a person standing in the door. They were tall, lanky, hair stretched down far, at least down to their back. From what I could tell, it looked like a man. I couldn't make out many features as I got into my car and slammed the door shut. I sped off quickly, scared out of my mind. I raced home, running 2 red lights and not stopping at stop signs. I'm lucky I didn't get pulled over. That brings me to now. I slinked back inside through my window, showered, and now I'm sitting in my bed typing this out. Shit, I need to know more. As dangerous and scary as it was, some twisted part of me just needed to know more. Who was it? Why were they there? Why had the meat not rotted? Why were the registers untouched? What the hell was going on with the grocery store?